Anything you put your mind to, you accomplish. And you never back down, cause you deserve it. The light shines in you, cause you're the realest. And you walk by faith, you're optimistic. You inspire me, girl, you inspire me. You're so inspirational. Inspirational.
Welcome back to Your Inspirational. I am here with Dr. Josephine Bennett. Girl, welcome.
Hi, it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I finally got Josephine here. You know, she works a lot. She works enough for like 3 people, 3 shifts. So I'm just happy to have her finally here. So let's talk about the doctor. Now, what are you a doctor of? What is it?
So my degree is a professional doctorate. So a doctor of business administration and human resources, of course, focusing in human resources. So it's more of a practitioner's doctorate degree, where I go in with companies. The goal is to help solve their problems. So, but yeah, it's in human resources.
So before you did the doctorate, like what inspired you to do that? Like, was it going to be a better job that you were searching after, or like does it increase pay? Like what inspired you?
It does all of that, but one of the main reasons that I pursued it, of course, the Lord led me to pursue it after I obtained my master's degree. I was really done with school. I thought, oh no, I'm not going back to school again. Like, this is it. But the Lord kind of led me into that. He created the pathway for me to pursue a doctorate degree. And with that, he just kind of directed me in being able to help companies, even with my doctorate degree, in helping them to solve their problems. And initially, it was starting off just being just a focus in business administration, but I saw the opportunity to help companies with an area that they struggle with quite often, which is their personnel, their human resources. And that's kind of how I got into that area. I had experience working in management, handling a great deal of the human resource processes, and it was something that I enjoyed doing. So pursuing that degree helped me to really focus on that.
So you're a consultant.
Yep. So I do consulting. My focus area is in HR data. So focusing on a variety of areas: employee surveys, affirmative action planning, workforce planning. Most of it is in data, but I also do. I work with companies with developing their HR strategies. With implementing their policies and procedures for their personnel, just a wide range of areas.
It's a lot of stuff. So that's crazy. So like you do all of that, and then you're a wife,
Yes.
you're a mother, and caregiver, and you work for the church. So I'm like, how do you even balance out your life and like all the things that you have to do?
I will say that it is not easy. One of the things that has been very helpful for me, I worked for the government for 12 years, over 12 years, and I left that and went into the consulting space, doing that full time, as well as teaching college courses. And with that, one of the things that I wanted to really do is to spend time focusing a little bit more on my family. And I have a daughter. I have 2 daughters, but my youngest daughter, she's right now she's 10 months. But also I have a 5-year-old. But I stepped away from that to kind of focus more on family, and I found myself really working more. And I thought at one point I was juggling 3 jobs with a newborn and she's not taller, but a 4-year-old at the time. And so I left the government job, and I'm still working all the time, and it is hard. It is challenging, but one of the things that helps me in that is having a spouse who is supportive. He is supportive of my dreams and my aspirations, but he also, he works with me. He works with me in what we do for the church and what we commit to the church. We work alongside each other in doing that, and he's really supportive. And the Lord has really, many days I really think, Lord, there's no way that I got all of these things done. other than you helping me.
Yeah.
So the Lord has enabled me to be able to get these things done.
Yeah,
all
give
the
you
things that I
strength.
commit
Yeah.
myself. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So how long have y'all been married?
we have been married for, it was on February the 21st, it was 8 years.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And so how did y'all work together to kind of balance things out as of, I know you say you work together at the church and you do everything together and he's supportive, but how did y'all get to that point? Because I know every marriage, like, at the beginning, you go through things. So how did y'all get to that point where you're just like, okay, look, let's do this together and this is how we're going to do it?
I would say, and this is something that, even in our courting phase, we had an open line of communication. We share with each other. We share our dreams and our goals with each other, and we make sure that they align. In going to school, for example, that required a great deal of sacrifice for me, but it also required a great deal of sacrifice for him,
Okay.
because there were numerous times where there were commitments that I had, and I may not have been able to pick the girl, Elena at the time, pick Elena up from daycare or drop her off, where he had to step in and do that. But of course, he understood what my goals and my aspirations were, and he was there to support me. So with that, it's just important to communicate. Don't be fearful in sharing what your desires, what your heart's desires are with your spouse, and ensuring that you're working together, because even if I'm the one that's in school, it's still both of us working through that. It's not just me in school. We're both in school.
Yeah.
We are both working on this together, and like I said, it requires commitment on both ends to be able to work together to achieve those goals. So.
And so during courtship, how did you know that he was the one? Like, was it the equally yoked, or was something that said, okay, like, we're able to communicate, so like he's the one? Like, what made you say, okay, yeah, I can do this, and yes, I will move forward with you?
Well, I've had past experiences, and there was typically an uneasiness. And one of the things, of course, I had my list of things that I put before the Lord, but I asked the Lord that when you send him, give me a peace, and that was a peace that I had with Aldrich, and I appreciate the Lord, because he knew what it would take. He knew what it take. The Lord knew my past experiences. He knew everything that that I had been through, experience in my life. So prior to Aldrich, so he knew that that peace that he could give me would be definitive for me in my mind, to let me know that it was okay to move forward with him.
Okay. Aww. Y'all are just a dream couple. You're so beautiful. So when you move forward and y'all were ready to have children, like, what would you say, like, to those people? Because I know, like, the backstory, but like, you want to give the backstory to them, like, about having a baby and, like, just moving forward and believing in God.
So one of the things, when we got married, people, they said, well, take time, enjoy each other, wait 2 years, take trips, do what you're going to do, and then have children. And so that's what we did. We thought, okay, at the 2-year mark, we're going to have children.
Yeah.
And that did not happen.
Okay.
You realize in marriage and life in general that sometimes your timing does not always align with the Lord's timing. And so at the 2-year mark, we were trying, and it wasn't happening. And of course, in those times, especially when it's something that you've asked the Lord for, when things don't happen according to your plans, it's very easy to get disappointed. It's very easy to say, well, maybe this isn't going to happen for me. And those thoughts, they did come, like, okay, well, Lord, maybe this isn't the plan that you have for me, or maybe, but we kept working towards it, kept praying, asking the Lord. And even when at the timing that we actually found out we were pregnant, not even a month after we found out that we were pregnant, as a matter of fact, the day that they confirmed the pregnancy, the date was also the date that my doctor was calling to tell me, and I tried to save the voicemail. I wanted to keep it for a testimony, but the date that the doctor was telling me that, hey, this is what your labs are saying, we're going to have to start you on this medicine. If you don't get started on this medicine, then you can possibly lose the baby. Like the same day. And that really shows sometimes how the enemy works when there's a promise from the Lord. and it's that promise is coming forth, the enemy will try to snatch your he'll try to snatch your joy.
Yeah.
He'll try to snatch that promise. Yeah, all that. He will try to snatch it from you in that moment.
Yeah.
And even through the course of that, like I said, we prayed for it. We were trying, and when it finally happened, we were like it's happening with this.
Yeah.
And we went to the doctor. It was it wasn't discouraging. It was reaffirming for us, because after he sat down, the doctor sat down, which just told us, the possibilities that, our child, and this is our first child, Elena, saying that she could be born with a partially developed brain, that she could die in childbirth, that I could die in childbirth, that I could experience like total organ failure. It was, it was a lot to take in. And I thought, what? But when we left that, Algebra and I, when we left that doctor's office, we got outside of the door and we both had the same thoughts. And it was, whose report will you believe?
Yeah.
And that carried us. So even with, the subsequent things that we would hear, it was, whose report will you believe?
Yeah.
And that is, what we allow to prevail in our minds over anything else that we would hear concerning our child.
Yeah.
And of course, she's 5 years old now.
Yeah.
So,
so how do you because I know like a lot of people, like, when they have issues, a lot of people go through like, choosing either adoption or in vitro, just trying to make something work. So what would you say to them, like, just about faith and just trusting in the Lord?
Well, one of the things, and this is kind of what we realize, that is having clarity. So even with this and some other things in our life just in general, sometimes even as the Lord leads us, it's not always what we want, and things don't happen like we always want. And of course, in marriage, in life in general, we experience disappointments, and sometimes things don't happen the way that we are praying for them to happen. Or like the Lord is saying, no, this is not what I have for you, or this is not what I want to bless you with. And so the thing is to, of course, seek the Lord, and it's not always easy to accept what the Lord, the answer that the Lord gives, but be willing to, and if the Lord is giving you an answer that you may not want to accept, ask the Lord to allow you to accept, because of course we know that God is all knowing, and he knows, what we can handle. He knows, he sees beyond what we see. And I would say just rely on the leading of the Lord.
So after your first birth, with the second one, did you have any like, second thoughts or like, a little nervousness going in, like, with the pregnancy and what?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You don't, with that first pregnancy, because of that, there was always a thought in my mind, like, if we have the children, what is that experience going to be like? And even in going through the pregnancy with Annalise, who's my second daughter, going through that pregnancy, it was challenging. It was absolutely, I was sick for most of the pregnancy, and I tried to hide it, camouflage it, and try to go on, but like all day, every day, I was sick. I would literally have to come home from work. I would go to work, come home from work, and get in the bed. Like it was that challenging, and it was challenging up until the point where I delivered her. At 7 months, I started having contractions. We were at a church service, and I left the church service. We went to it was an anniversary service, but in that service, like, I'm having almost unbearable contractions. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I said, well, you know what, let me just get home. So I get home, and I said, well, maybe I need to increase my water intake. Increase my water intake, and throughout that whole entire night, I'm having contractions like I'm going in labor, and I'm thinking, I'm 7 months pregnant. It's too early. But I went to the doctor, and they went to the ER, and they measured, and they said, okay, well, you are having preterm contractions, but you're not dilating. And so they monitored me, and they provided medication to help prevent the contractions. But thankfully I did carry her to full term.
Okay.
But even in that, when I got to the hospital to deliver her, they set the date. When I had Elena, I actually went into labor naturally.
Okay.
And this was not happening with Annalise.
Okay.
And they were trying to figure out what was going on. So I really wanted to avoid being induced.
Okay.
But they had to begin that process.
Okay.
And I thought, okay. And as they were trying to begin that induction process, part of the complications with Annalise, as I had fibroids, and the placement of those fibroids, it was just very painful throughout the pregnancy.
Yeah.
But because of that, she was adjusting her position in my stomach, so I couldn't deliver her naturally.
Okay.
And as I was trying to deliver her, whenever I would try to deliver her, her heart rate would go down. Yeah. And so I went through that throughout the entire night. Okay. In labor at the hospital. Okay. And they said, well, we're going to have to schedule for a C-section. Wow. They scheduled the time for the C-section. The doctor came in, and as he's telling me about it, the nurse comes in and says, we have to take her now. Okay. And we're going to have to deliver her because the baby's heart rate is dropping. Okay. And so I had to go in at that. I wasn't physically prepared, but I told the Lord, however he has to get her here safely, I will be okay with it. And so that's how we had to roll that, and I was okay with it. It wasn't how I planned, how I'd expected, but I trust the leading and the guidance of the Lord. If I had continued to try to push to do it my way, then it may have been a different outcome for her, because I physically could not deliver her naturally because of the placement of the fibroid. So
Those are sad stories that I hate.
Well, it's not sad. This is a story of victory. I take joy in that. Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't how I wanted, but the fact that the Lord had prepared. He brought me through that safely. Yeah. And I appreciate him for it. So
and he answered your prayer, because you were saying that you wanted her early, because you were going through so much, and I
appreciate the Lord for that. Yeah.
And so your family is so beautiful. Like, you keep them looking nice. Like, let's talk about your pictures. Like, how you dress everybody up. Because you always have everybody looking so nice. So, like, what's the plan and how you get thoughtful?
Oh Lord, now. Pictures only capture a moment in time, okay?
But you get everybody ready, so I'm like,
Don't be deceived by the pictures, because they do capture just a moment in time. The greatest blessings are probably not even captured in the pictures. It is really in having a healthy family, a whole family, and just a family that loves the Lord. Yeah. And so for me, I like the pictures are nice, but I'm just blessed in what the Lord has blessed me with in my spouse and in my children. Yeah.
So with the church ministry, like, you do something with the sound and okay. So what do you do? I'm like, talk. Because I don't know.
So actually, as I mentioned, Al and I, we work together in leading, I lead the sacred arts portion of it, which includes the audio and the video ministries at the church. And of course, that is something that we both enjoy doing. Okay. So, that's what...
And you're teaching with that too, right? You teach teenagers and to train them kind of.
Well, we have a team of individuals at the church that we work with, and actually a good number of them are teenagers. They are very very talented and knowledgeable, and they are a real big help to us and the ministry as well. So,
So what's next for y'all? You got plans and everything kind of thought out.
Well, my husband is actually planning to go back to school, and kind of similar to the sacrifices that he made when I was in school. I'll be making those same sacrifices. So and just really, as I shared, one of the things that I planned to do at the end of last year was to really devote more time to my family, and I do want to reorient myself in that and not work so much. I don't want to be known as the person that works all the time.
You're so good at it. but I
Of course,
understand.
there's a time for that, but I do want to make sure that I have a balance
Yeah.
and don't dedicate as much time to my secular role and not my family. So making sure that I can dedicate the right amount of time to my daughters and my
Yeah.
husband.
That's
So.
good. So, are you into self care? Like, do you do anything like to just get your mind right, like just to stay mentally balanced, or are you just so busy right now that you don't have the time?
Well, I guess so. When you say self care, I guess there are a lot of things that I look at, and a part of that is balance. And when it comes to that balance, I would say no, that I don't balance like I should,
Okay.
and I'm going to.
Okay.
I do have a plan to. I'm working right now to just kind of restructure kind of how I allocate my time.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as taking time out, I do like to maybe take a moment out every month or so, and well, not every month, but once a month I get my nails done.
Yeah.
And I know that's probably not a lot,
That's
but
so good.
but yeah, so I get my nails done, and that's time that I take to myself. But yeah, I know.
Now I want to bring up the family. Like, okay, so you were raised with how many siblings? So, like, we were raised together. Like, around the same time, we were friends as little, like, newborn children or
Yes.
whatever. So, like, I know that she had a lot of siblings. So, like, just talk about it, like, being raised and how fun it was, and like, how less of chores you had to do. Because you had so many siblings. Because you got a lot of siblings, so it kind of rotates.
I do, but so my parents they started having children when they were young. So my mom was 18.
Okay.
That was young to me.
Yeah,
and she had them up until she had my sister in her 40s. So I think she was 46 when she had my sister. And there is I feel like it's a split between us. So you have the older group and then the younger group, and I'm a part of the younger group.
Okay.
So my oldest brother is 53. He just turned 53 in January. So I don't think we necessarily got to split the chores because as I grew up, my older siblings were out of the house, so I still had a lot of work to do.
Okay. So it was still fun though, because you had
it was helpful having siblings who were close to my age.
Okay.
So I have a brother who is 2 years older than me, and then a brother who's a year younger than me. So I would say that it was helpful having someone to play with and
to relate to.
Yeah.
So as having older siblings though, you could get a lot of advice, like for especially like if you got stuff that you're planning in the future and what you want to do, like college or whatever job you want, like they can give you that advice. So how was that?
It was helpful. I remember when I graduated college, and there was a path that it was really a path. It was like a last resort, a decision that I was going to make regarding my future.
Okay.
And my brother called me, my oldest brother. I was an experience that he had gone through as well. And he called me and said that I'm not going to let you get off this phone until you say that you're not going to do this. And so I redirected my plans. And with that, I ultimately ended up going into graduate school. And pursuing a master's degree. So it is helpful. One of the other benefits, of course, like I said, they were older. So we got to, go spend time with them away from our parents. Because, of course, growing up, it was very strict.
Yeah, I know.
It was very strict. So, they provided a pathway to kind of get out of the house.
But tell them why your parents were strict. I mean, like your dad was a pastor, so.
So he was a pastor, and ultimately he ended up, we ended up moving to another church where he was a minister. So of course, growing up, it was just very strict. There were a lot of things that we could not do. Couldn't cut our hair, color our hair, no makeup, no pants, no fingernail polish. Couldn't go to football games, no social activities, couldn't do any of that. So, very strict.
Yeah, I remember those times. And mom wasn't even a pastor, so So I'm gonna talk to her a little bit. We're gonna talk to y'all soon, all right?
Thanks for watching Your Inspirational. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, all right? See you next time.